Challenges of Global Leadership. Introduction. In an era defined by rapid globalization, technological acceleration, environmental crises, and geopolitical volatility, global leadership faces unprecedented complexity. Unlike traditional national or organizational leadership, global leadership requires navigating multiple cultural, institutional, political, and ethical landscapes. Leaders today must operate across borders, adapt to diverse value systems, and address transnational challenges from climate change and pandemics to digital governance and global inequality. While global leadership presents immense opportunities for cooperation and innovation, it also confronts formidable challenges that can undermine effectiveness and legitimacy. This essay explores the key challenges facing global leaders, analyzing them across structural, cultural, ethical, technological, and institutional dimensions. On cultural complexity and cross-cultural competence. One of the most significant challenges in global leadership is managing cultural diversity. As organizations expand internationally and leaders interact with culturally diverse stakeholders, they must navigate variations in communication styles, values, power distance, and decision-making norms. Cultural misunderstandings can lead to misinterpretation, conflict, and loss of trust. High context versus low context communication styles. Hall 1976 can cause confusion and tension. Differences in time orientation, monochronic versus polychronic, authority perception, and negotiation strategies must be managed with cultural intelligence CQ. Solution. Effective global leaders must develop intercultural competence by practicing empathy, learning local customs, and fostering inclusive environments that respect cultural plurality. Cultural humility and continuous learning are essential. 2. Ethical dilemmas and value conflicts. Global leaders often encounter conflicting ethical standards between countries, regions, and stakeholder groups. Practices considered acceptable in one context may be viewed as unethical in another, e.g., gift-giving versus bribery, human rights versus cultural relativism. Should leaders support universal principles or respect local traditions? Corporate social responsibility, CSR, balancing profit motives with sustainability, labor rights and social justice in different jurisdictions, supply chain ethics, managing working conditions, child labor, and environmental compliance globally. Solution. Ethical global leadership requires establishing a clear framework, grounded in integrity, accountability, and transparent decision-making, while engaging in ethical pluralism, respecting diversity, without compromising core values like dignity and fairness. 3. Geopolitical volatility and security risks. Geopolitical shifts, such as rising nationalism, regional conflicts, economic sanctions, and strategic rivalries, G.U.S. China competition, Russia-Ukraine conflict, pose existential risks to global leadership. Global instability can disrupt supply chains, hinder diplomatic cooperation, and increase regulatory uncertainty. Security threats include terrorism, cyber attacks, and economic espionage. Leaders must manage intergovernmental tensions and protect their interests, while avoiding escalation. Solution. Navigating this volatility requires strategic foresight. Scenario. Planning and building coalitions for peace and stability. Leaders must be adept in diplomacy, negotiation, and multilateralism with a firm understanding of international law and power dynamics. 4. Technological disruption and digital governance. The digital revolution has created both tools and threats for global leadership. Automation and AI impact, labor markets, productivity, and ethical accountability. Digital divide limits access to opportunity and exacerbates inequality. Cybersecurity challenges global stability, while misinformation and deepfakes threaten truth and democratic processes. Solution. Leaders must champion inclusive innovation by bridging digital gaps, promoting ethical AI, and advocating for transparent, rights-based digital governance frameworks, engaging in global standard setting, and cross-border data agreements is essential. 5. Climate change and environmental sustainability. Climate change presents one of the most urgent and complex global challenges. Rising sea levels, extreme weather, and resource scarcity threaten human security. Environmental degradation disproportionately affects vulnerable communities and deepens global inequality. Greenwashing and fragmented policies undermine sustainable development. Solution: global leaders must move beyond declarations to enforceable action. Plans aligned with the Paris Agreement and the SDGs, cross-sector collaboration, green finance, and responsible consumption must be priorities, requiring moral, courage, and long-term vision. 6. Governance complexity and institutional fragmentation. Global leadership often operates in spaces with no centralized authority. Unlike domestic leadership, which relies on sovereign institutions, global governance involves overlapping jurisdictions, informal networks, and multilateral institutions. Weak enforcement mechanisms in international organizations limit compliance, e.g., WTO, WHO. Institutional inertia hampers reform and innovation. Global inequality in voice and representation undermines legitimacy. Solution: effective global leaders must navigate these fragmented landscapes through strategic alliances, public-private partnerships, and inclusive diplomacy. Strengthening multilateral institutions, enhancing accountability, and democratizing global decision-making are essential. 7. Legitimacy and trust deficits. Global leaders often face skepticism regarding their motives and legitimacy. Perceptions of Western dominance in global institutions foster resistance in the global South. Corporate leaders face public distrust due to perceived exploitation or lack of transparency. NGOs and international bodies can struggle with accountability and mission drift. Solution: legitimacy must be earned through participatory leadership, transparent governance, and demonstrated commitment to shared values. Global leaders must cultivate trust through dialogue, inclusion, and responsiveness to local concerns. 8. Balancing local responsiveness and global integration. Global leaders must simultaneously think globally and act locally, a balancing act that is easier said than done. Standardization versus adaptation. Should policies, products, and services be unified or tailored? Tensions between headquarters and regional offices. Misalignment can erode efficiency and cohesion. Political risk: local laws, protests, or populist backlash can threaten global initiatives. Solution: leaders must practice globalization, adapting global strategies to local realities. This requires decentralized decision-making, empowering local teams, and embedding feedback loops across levels. 9. Talent management and leadership development. Sourcing and retaining global talent is a growing challenge. Cross-cultural teams require careful alignment of goals, communication, and conflict resolution styles. Talent mobility is limited by visa regimes, family issues, or political barriers. Leadership pipelines may lack diversity, limiting innovation and global responsiveness. Solution: organizations must invest in global leadership development programs, promote diversity, and create flexible mobility pathways. Empowering next-generation leaders from varied backgrounds enhances resilience and adaptability. 10. Personal resilience and well-being. The personal toll of global leadership is often underestimated. Constant travel, cultural transitions, time zone changes, and decision fatigue can lead to burnout. Emotional intelligence and self-awareness are vital but difficult to maintain under pressure. Balancing work-life integration in a borderless world poses mental health risks. Solution: self-care, boundary setting, and resilience building must be embedded into leadership development. peer mentoring, coaching, and reflective practices e.g., journaling, mindfulness, are crucial for sustaining performance. Conclusion. Global leadership is a high-stakes endeavor shaped by complexity, contradiction, and constant change. The challenges it faces: cultural diversity, ethical tensions, geopolitical conflict, technological disruption, environmental degradation, and legitimacy crises, require a new breed of leader: adaptive, ethical, collaborative, and systems-minded. No longer can leadership rely solely on authority or charisma. It must now be grounded in empathy, foresight, and global citizenship. By embracing diversity, building trust, and aligning short-term actions with long-term global goals, today's leaders can rise to the challenges of tomorrow's world. The future of global leadership depends not only on strategic competence, but also on moral clarity and inclusive vision. Only then can leadership transcend borders and truly serve humanity.